Hello, and welcome to Just Jenni Lee, episode 15. Kind of looks like watercolor hour, and I guess you can say in a way that it is watercolor hour. I have mostly finished just stocky over there. There could be a few things that I decide to do, but for the most part, I can almost say to myself, you know what, I could call this finished, and even if I don't love it, it taught me a lot, and gave me something to look forward to working on and finishing. It just gives me like a goal, basically. And at some point, can I call it done and hang it up somewhere in my house, even if it's not something that I plan to make reproductions out of? At what point can I call it finished? So I thought that would be a really fun thing to talk about, because I feel like that's like the age-old question is, how do you know when a piece of artwork is finished? I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna take a quick little detour to say it's easy to know when a piece of fudge is finished. It's gone. And this is almost gone. I have one more piece because Naomi decided to sacrifice her free piece of fudge from How Caverns and give it to me. So I have another piece of the peanut butter chocolate. But most of the time in my life, fudge is something that I can either take or leave. And most of the time I kind of leave it. Like I can take a few bites and I'm like, oh, that's good. I cannot stop eating this fudge. And I just want to say thank you so much to them for gifting it to us. It's fantastic. I literally usually throw away whatever fudge I have. I might take like a few mouse nibbles if someone gets it for me, or if I get so inclined. And then I'm like, why did I buy this? I cannot stop eating this. It's so good. They were generous pieces too. So well done. They make their fudge on premises, and I would drive there to get this, but fortunately I don't have to, because they can, because you can order on their website. So well done, How Caverns. Well done. A little iced tea to wash it down with. So good. Oh my gosh, totally worth the trip, besides for all of the Cabernet related things that you can do there. So anyways, back to how do I know when a piece is finished? Well, I've got these problem children, these couple of watercolors. The one directly behind me has a masking fluid problem. I think I said fixative in a different video, but in any case, I meant masking fluid. It's been on there for too long, and it's kind of like sealed itself to the surface. Now, you would think that I would know better, because I did the same thing with this one. That painting is from like 2020. This one is from probably like 2010, which is embarrassing but true. In fact, it's so old, like I've got it taped to a card, which I don't even often do this anymore. So anyways, this one over here, I started when I was teaching watercolor class last spring, and that just kind of drained me and took a lot of life out of me. And I don't know, I wasn't feeling super inspired when I got back home. And so it's just sitting there, just, churning up negativity in me. So what I'd like to do is put them to bed. Now, the rose that you see right there, this one, I just knew it was finished. It felt finished to me, and it felt like I had ease when I executed it. It just came naturally. This one behind me here, over here, with a bottle of alcohol in front of it. Again, that one just kind of came together, but other ones just caused me some consternation, and I'll get hung up on them, and then I want to move on to another project. So sometimes that works. I've walked away from a painting. I know, in fact, the rose, I had thought, well, I'm not sure. And I walked away from it for like a week, and I came back and I was kind of like, you know what? It's good. Like, I don't know. What else would I do? So what I really want to do with the duck over there is, now that it's in the state that I feel pretty strongly that maybe if I spend another hour or so on it with a few touch-ups, that I would actually just want to walk away from it and do something different and kind of reset my lens, The oil painting is a little bit challenging for me. I don't absolutely love it. It's messy. It's not necessarily a quicker solution to how else I paint. And it's just an interesting, like, sort of backwards way of thinking, I feel like, compared to the other mediums in which I work. So I'm not giving up on it entirely. This duck has actually gotten me a lot of engagement on some of my live streams, which has been a lot of fun. So I may do one more live stream with him tonight just to kind of put him to bed. But I thought it would be also really fun to just get my feet wet into my world, like my wheelhouse, where I feel comfortable for the most part. Not that I always know what I'm doing, but I feel comfortable with it. So back to the idea of how do I know when a painting is done? Well, there's a little bit to the idea that if I walk away from it for a few days, that I will come back with like a fresh set of eyes on it. This paint here is dried up, but it doesn't mean it's not usable. It's not completely dried up. It's just very thick, so it just needs water added to it, and it will be usable again. Spray some water in there, and that'll kind of incorporate it back up again. So what was kind of fun for me last night was when my husband, he was working down in the basement. He's going to dig us out of our big basement embarrassment, which if you watch yesterday's vlog, and I think I posted a short of it as well, I give you a tour of our basement in which there is a massive trophy collection. There's just a lot going on down there. And my poor husband has decided that he wants to be more supportive to me in the studio, and he doesn't want me to have to, you know, I don't know, lift a little finger to do these caveman things, I guess. So he has decided to like basically, you know, keep me working in the studio and busy in the studio, and wants me to focus on this and the website and the YouTube channel, all that stuff. So anyways, he had been down there for a few hours. Normally he's just kind of like nearby, right alongside me. And this time he wasn't, because like I said, he was downstairs. So he came up after like 2 hours, and he was like, wow, I like it better than the original reference photo. Now, to me, when somebody says that, that is like hitting the mark. That is a point that you need to pay attention to, because at that point, you're not just copying something, you're making something that is a piece of art. Now, there's a lot with it that I don't necessarily love, so don't think that I'm saying that. What I'm saying is he could look at it and he could appreciate it for being what it was on its own. You know, my problem children right now, unfortunately, I couldn't look at any of them and say they stand on their own 2 feet. Although this one here, the rose, I could have probably picked it apart and done more with it, but I decided it stands on its own 2 feet. This one back here behind me, that one, eventually I hit a point where I said, this one stands on its own 2 feet. And that one actually had like a 10-year hiatus too. I had revived that one back during the pandemic. And that kind of led me into working on this one. And then I got stalled out, and this one had already been like, I thought maybe hopeless. But over time, I worked off a lot of the masking fluid. And as I was sitting here looking at it recently, I thought, I feel like I could do something with it, even if I have to introduce gouache or some kind of acrylic-based paint or something, and not give it up. It can literally just be, if it has to be a multimedia piece, and it doesn't have to be relegated exclusively to the world of watercolors, it could just be water media, if I even need to go that route. And I don't even know if I do, honestly. So yeah, I think that the best way to know a piece is done is to step back from it, like basically give yourself some space from it, but also to literally step back from it. I think it's always an excellent idea to step back at least 10 to 20 feet from your piece of artwork while you're working at it throughout the process, because that way you're going to see it in a different way. You see it so differently when you're right on top of it than when you step back from it. So at some point it starts to feel more cohesive the more space that you give yourself, but then that's also a time frame thing. The more space that you give yourself to not look at your artwork, then you may come back to it like 3, 5, 7 days later, or even a couple of weeks later, and be like, yeah, I don't know what was really bugging me about that, but it's fine. It's perfectly fine. I don't even know. So yeah, I think like getting yourself a little bit less enmeshed in the piece can be helpful. And like, you know, spontaneity and the artist's hand. And I struggle with that. I struggle with like wanting to eliminate any evidence of me in anything I paint. I don't want anybody to know that somehow Jenni Lee was back there grinding away at her table, crying and having a panic attack over something going wrong or not understanding what I was doing. Doing the live streams has really helped me to like take myself a lot less seriously. Sometimes my husband will laugh and say, it's so funny how you deal with like negative comments or people who are like heckling you. And Naomi will say, Mom, it's the people like literally are sitting there in order to be mean. They're waiting for, you know, they're just scrolling through the live streams and just leaving like a quick, mean, angry comment and going on to the next one, which I too, like, I understand that. But like, I also understand that like other people are reading the comments and I've got paintbrushes or whatever in my hand. And so I can only really verbally address what people might be saying. And so a lot of times I'm just like saying, if the person's like, oh, your painting sucks, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I think every piece of artwork I make sucks. You're not wrong. That's why I'm here still working on it. Because if it didn't suck, I'd be done by now, you know? Actually, talking about all this has made me think about another medium that I will occasionally dabble in, which is pastels. And that medium is really interesting because I tend to work kind of fast and furious, and I'm able to get a composition done in a much shorter period of time. It kind of harkens back to my college days where you were given like 30 seconds, 1 minute, maybe 5 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, but all different time periods, a minute, whatever, in order to take, you know, charcoal on newsprint and to convey what you saw in front of you in that period of time and to make it cohesive. So you couldn't focus on one tiny area of what you saw in front of you. You kind of had to work like as a whole. And so pastels actually sort of lend themselves to that for me. My other paintings, as you can see, tend to be worked not necessarily like this one here is worked all in one layer essentially at a time, but still each individual section. And for the oil paints, a similar type way. And obviously for the acrylics, the way I do all the sections, it's very like compartmentalized. So pastels, I tend to be a little bit more like whole picture approach, I guess you could say. I have a couple of little pastel paintings that I did down in Florida with a friend of mine, and those turned out so rapidly, so well. And it was actually hard for me to see that they were done. And so they are still under wax paper. In fact, I'm going to go grab them so that I can show them to you. So these are pan pastels on like a sandpaper essentially, and they sit under wax paper because I am afraid to spray a fixative on them because I think it will ruin them, so I don't want to. But basically, they each took a very little amount of time. I think one of them took 10 minutes and I think one of them took maybe 20. I can't remember exactly, but they were both really brief. They were just so fast. And I thought each one was going to be an underpainting for a more developed painting on top of it. And both my husband and my friend were like, no, no, it's done. They're done. And so they have sat underneath this wax paper for an extensively long time because I'm terrified to do anything with them. Now, I may photograph them and include them in my print availability as my website starts to become, you know, more functional. I'll start including the ability for y'all to buy prints of my work. But other than that, I don't even want to put them in a frame because I'm afraid that the pastel will come down. So, you know, most of the time my artwork does take like 40, 50 hours per piece to create. And I end up sometimes overworking my stuff and I end up walking away from it and calling it done because I almost have no choice. But, you know, the best kinds are honestly the ones that take 10 or 15 minutes and people look at them and they're like, wow, I love that. I don't even care what the reference photo looks like. It just speaks to my soul. So yeah, if you can get someone else to respond to your artwork in a really positive way and you can step back from it like physically and also time-wise and just, I don't know, detach yourself from it a little bit so that you don't just see yourself in it, but you see it for itself. That is a really good way to help you see when a piece of artwork might be done. So if you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. I was shocked when I went to bed Saturday night. I had like 390 subscribers. And when I woke up this morning, Monday morning, I had like 415, which I was like, what? How did that happen? So I'm just really grateful that to have all the new people, and I can't wait to show you what else is going to come out of the studio. We've got some cave paintings that are going to happen because of all of the cool pictures that I got at How Caverns, and just a whole bunch more coming. So thank you so much for being here. I'd love to have you like, subscribe, comment. That really helps me out and helps to grow my little channel. And I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day and rest of your week, and I will catch you in the next video.